Welcome back to a new episode of Relocate to Happiness podcast. I'm your host, Luca Shaked, and today we'll have a conversation about overcoming burnout and connection with feminine energy in leadership. My guest, Alina Cristina Buteica, is a wellness and leadership coach and growth hacker, partnering with companies and individuals in order to help them lean into the art of living well and in alignment with their highest purpose. A best-selling author on feminine leadership, she is passionate about helping individuals and companies really tap into their next level of intuition, creativity, connectedness, and service to the world. She's passionate about inspiring people to lead from within. Her journey is nothing short of extraordinary. By the time she reached her early 30s, she was a graduate of 3 business schools with a specialization in organization, change, and strategy, and had lived and worked in 17 countries on 3 continents. Over 3 years, she built from the base up the largest management programs academy for the fastest growing tech company in Africa, the first 1 billion company on the continent. She has collaborated with people and organizations of the most diverse backgrounds, from automobile industry to logistics to NGOs to tech and e-commerce. Her openness, curiosity, kindness, and thirst of knowledge has allowed Alina to become highly adaptable to all environments she has worked in. Let's hear from her how to overcome burnout. Today, we're going to have a conversation about happiness, life, high performance, happiness and AI.
You can do this. It's a game.
This was just the first question.
Sorry, yeah.
I never thought I'd say that.
No.
You know what? Why?
I'm just thinking about the avocado, meat, food, potato. Like being very focused.
And I'm running, not ready, in underwear.
Oh, will she come in her lingerie? Like
You have to schedule sex. Put it like that.
All we need is love.
Relocate to happiness.
Alina, welcome. Thank you so much for coming today.
It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation, Luca.
And, thank you for being so efficient and receptive. And, sometimes it happens to me that I book recording with the guests. It takes me months, sometimes even
to get them here, you mean?
To get them here,
really?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
So thank you so much for taking the time. And,
well, I don't need to hear the call of the universe twice.
And I'm glad you're here today because I think that, this topic it's very close to a lot of people, especially at the end of the year. It was a very busy end of the year, and then it's also very beginning of the year, right? It's
absolutely
the start of 2025. Everybody they're setting up a lot of goals. They're doing a lot of projecting, manifestation. How do you call it?
Yeah, absolutely. Going after your dreams. Simply put, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm happy that it comes out in January. And I just want to, before we go to the goal setting and everything, I want to talk to you about the burnout. And I want to hear your story. I know parts of it. But I want to hear your story about burnout and what happened.
Yeah, it's really fascinating how I got into the topic of burnout, and I believe it's not coincidental. I don't believe in coincidences anymore. I believe that we actually have a life path that takes us to the right places at the right time. And even sometimes we get trials, tests in our life that in hindsight or at that particular moment may seem as huge trials, but when we look at it from later on and we integrate the lessons, the learnings, it's a hidden blessing, or a blessing in disguise, as it's called. So that's what my episode of Burnout has been, a blessing in disguise, because today I'm in a position to work on it and to help other people overcome it, and to work with companies and founders and entrepreneurs in this field, especially since it is a growing topic of concern worldwide. So how my burnout happened. I got a very
The dream job.
Extreme. I had an extreme burnout. So I was in a situation where I had what's from an external point of view looked like a dream job. And I was at the height of my corporate career. So this was back in 2018, September 2018. I will never forget the day. So what happened is that I was working as the head of learning and development for a large multinational in e-commerce in Africa. They were the first $1 billion company in tech on the continent. And as you can imagine, the pace and the rate of growth was huge. They were in 15 countries. And their learning and development department was one person. It was me, running trainings in leadership and in personal growth and managerial skills for the whole company. So that's 3,000. At that point in time, it was 3,000 employees in Africa. So huge responsibility on my shoulders, lots of stress. I was delivering consistently. And what happened is that one day, I will never forget it. I was at the end of a long day of trainings in Cape Town in South Africa. And Friday afternoon, after 5 p.m., so basically my body waited all the way until the end of the day to break down. So after 5 p.m., I try and get some water because I was feeling very thirsty. And I suddenly feel that my heart starts racing, I'm experiencing huge palpitations. I felt it at that point in time as if somebody was literally pulling the carpet from underneath my feet. So I felt that in the next moments, I felt like I was collapsing.
Wow.
I literally felt, honestly, that I was experiencing a heart attack. So I got really scared. I was also experiencing a shortage of breath. I literally almost tumbled down. So I leaned against a wall. My good fortune at that point in time was that the HR local director came into the room, the training room I was in, and she saw my face. She saw that I couldn't speak. So she immediately called an ambulance. And I ended up at the hospital, at the local hospital, and they ran quickly some blood tests on me. They gave me some IV, some vitamins to stabilize me. And 1 hour later, which seemed like an eternity, to be honest, the doctor came back.
But were you stable back then? Like you?
Yeah, I mean, I was. I had the IV, I had the vitamins, I had lots of water, so. They gave me some also, I think, some sugary.
Yeah, of course it helps. Yeah.
A piece of chocolate. I don't remember exactly what it was, but something like sweet.
Mm-hmm.
So I was feeling a little bit better. I was starting to feel a little bit better. So the doctor came back after 1 hour and he said, young lady, because I was 33 at that point in time. Like, can you imagine having a heart attack, or what you feel is like a heart attack at 33? I was like, God, I'm too young for this. Mm-hmm. So I was really scared when he came back and he said, young lady, you're very, very lucky because what you're experiencing, what you're going through is actually a burnout. It's what's called extreme exhaustion. So he said,
how do they see that? Like, according to what? According to the blood test?
Yeah. According to the blood test, so they looked at the overall body well-being. I'm myself. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know exactly what they looked at, but that's the verdict that they gave me.
Wow.
So he said it's extreme exhaustion. It's not a heart attack, but what they looked at and they recommended me to do is to look at my diet, eat healthier, and sleep a lot. So he basically told me, young lady, you need to sleep. Like, you've been putting your body under a lot of stress. So you really, really need to sleep. So of course, I took some time over the weekend to rest. It was Friday. And then I went back to work on Monday. I actually had to fly where I was based. I was based in Lagos, Nigeria. And back into the office, I didn't find myself in a situation to be able to relate to the rhythm of work that I had literally, I would say, automatically dialed my body into up until then. So I realized that there was a series of things for me to relook at and reconsider when it comes to my life and when it comes to my work environment, because I was working in a high stress work environment. Not the best conditions at that point in time in Lagos, in Nigeria. I was in a very busy city, very stressful. Basically, a 21 million. At that point in time, 21 million people metropola. And I know they say this about New York, it's the city that never sleeps, but they haven't been to Lagos, Nigeria.
Really?
So, and I believe it's the same for all big cities in the world. So my body was, I recognized at that point in time that my body was giving me the signals.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, like, did you get any signals before?
Prior to that? Yes, I had been experiencing stress and anxiety without recognizing it as such. And the other signal I was getting from my, I would say, my body in the sense of my energetic body was a sensation of not feeling fulfilled anymore. So interestingly, and I actually took the time to look into it after I left. So back after this episode, I decided to take some time for myself. So I left the job I was in, and I gave myself 3 months to reset, which became actually 9 months. So I literally took a sabbatical before starting my own company, because I said to myself, if I can do this for 3,000 people, I can actually do it through my own company on my own terms, deciding on my own time and energy, and taking care of my energy. I can do it through my own company in the future. But of course, I recognized that my body really needed to rest and reset. So the signal I was getting that was really interesting, that I looked at and analyzed deeper afterwards, was that I wasn't feeling fulfilled in a job where all the external indicators, it was checking all the points. I was getting a pretty high, well-paid job. I had high responsibility, and I'm a person that loves and relishes a good challenge and the high responsibility. I was really well seen in the company. I was what felt aligned with my purpose, but actually, I wasn't fully aligned with my purpose. And what do I mean by that? I had been following, what I recognized in hindsight is that I had been following the external societal metrics to success and my own family's metrics of success up until then in life. But I hadn't actually taken the time to design and to understand what were my own values and metrics for success in this lifetime, and what truly motivates me and what truly makes me who I am. So in the time where I stepped outside of that job and the corporate world for a while, in that time, I had my own, let's say, eat, pray, love story. So I traveled, I rested, I traveled into beautiful locations I had always dreamt to go to, and I rested, and I really dived in.
You're in Bali, right?
I was there as well. Bali, Thailand, Malaysia, but also Europe. So places in Spain that I wanted to visit for a long while, places in the UK, and I eventually ended up in Portugal and living in Portugal. And we all know today that a lot of people are drawn to Portugal truly because of the lifestyle that it grants us, that it gives us, and the work-life balance that you can intently build here. So I recognized during my sabbatical that that there was more to life that I had been told, and by society and the conditions that I grew up in. And I took time to reconsider what really motivates me, what are my passions, what are my callings. And I started incorporating that afterwards into my work. So I recognized that I was actually overly functioning from a mind-only and very masculine-driven energy before my burnout. After my burnout, what I actually started doing is incorporating more principles that you can actually associate, if you want to, with the feminine energy. So in simple terms, I'm going to explain this in a very simplistic
Yeah, just a second. I want to say, like, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing. Like, what a story and what a journey.
Yes.
And all I have to say is, like, how smart our body is.
Absolutely.
How, like, when we don't know, it's like, you know what? I'll take care of you. I will tell you. I'll. If you don't stop, I will stop you. If you don't take care of
Totally.
yourself, I will make you take care of yourself.
And it gives us little signals here and there, like the lack of, I was feeling demotivated up to a certain point in the months leading up to the burnout. It was hard for me. I was experiencing moments like getting up in the morning and feeling demotivated. But then I pushed myself through it, right?
Yeah.
Or the fact that my diet was off, right?
Yeah.
I was eating all sorts of junk food,
Really?
which I haven't done since.
Yeah.
Or also the levels of stress and anxiety that were giving me signals that something was off. I wasn't paying attention to it, to all of that. And I believe a lot of people are experiencing it nowadays.
Yeah, I agree.
So you're right. Yeah, the body speaks.
Then it spoke
All the
very
time.
loud this time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you, like, before we moved to the feminine energy, because I was like, how would you define that, and how would you actually relate it to burnout? But before that, I want to ask you. So you stopped with that, you took the sabbatical, and then, like, what inspired you to say, okay, I'll be a coach, I'll help people? What was there? How did you get to you mentioned all the passion, looking into your strengths, and how did you do that? I remember we did, remember how we first met during a training at Second Home, remember?
Yeah.
And you had the Ikigai exercise?
Ikigai exercise, the one that helps you define your purpose in the world.
Yeah, now I remember it. And then I remember you said, like, where are you from? It's like, from Romania. I was like, oh yeah, hi.
Beautiful.
Like, so we connected, with the country of our
origin. Yeah,
exactly. So my first question is, like, how did you get to this point when you decided, okay, I will be like a life coach, I will focus on energy, I will focus on transforming other people's lives?
So that's a very good question. It grew organically, I would say. So I had already gone through the leadership coach certification while I was in my head of learning and development position in the corporate world. So I had done trainings as a leadership coach and got certified as such. And then during my sabbatical, I recognized that there were aspects that I hadn't taken into account. So I look at things nowadays in a holistic way. So I consider ourselves that I consider that we have, and I actually teach it in my trainings for both corporates and founders. We have 4 bodies if you look at it from a realistic perspective. We have a physical body that constantly gives us signals. There's the emotional body. There's the mental body. And then you have the energetic or spiritual body. So what the certifications that I went through later on showed me is that we need to look at all these 4 bodies and their well-being in order for us to live a balanced life. And what happens often is that a lot of people, due to the level of responsibility they have in their life, having to provide for their family, the stress at their job, they end up living a lot through the mental body, meaning like we know we have to deliver, we know we have to do, we have an endless list of to-dos.
Sounds
but
familiar.
And they end up neglecting the health of their emotional body and their physical body as well as their energetic body.
So how do you get to that balance?
Well, that's it's a
secret
journey.
in life.
It's a journey. So that's a longer story, but it's a journey. You have to, I would say, there are different things that feed all these 4 bodies. Much like we provide nutritious food organically, let's say nutritious food for our physical body. There's a type of food to be provided to the emotional body. So the emotional body is fed by things such as connecting to your life purpose, realizing what truly animates you, what are your values, and what you feel most called to do. But you need to take time to reflect for that. So in this case, you can go through trainings, you can go through online courses, you can hire a coach to take you through that. And as I was speaking earlier this year in my first TED Talk, that I believe it's going to come
Congratulations
out.
for that.
Thank
yeah.
you. It's going to come out next year. My suggestion for companies in general, for corporates, is to actually start, and I believe it's going to be necessary from 2025 onwards, to start either training internal coaches or hiring external coaches that cover all these four aspects: the mental well-being, the emotional well-being, the physical well-being, and the energetic well-being. And also coaches that look at how what I call inner leadership. So how to lead your life from a place, and your work from a place that promotes balance and promotes fulfillment for you. Because I'll tell you one thing honestly, if somebody is fulfilled by what they do in their job, and at the same time they invest in other areas of their life to maintain the balance, the company stands to benefit.
Of course, yeah.
And because you get brilliant work done, and you get to grow. And you don't lose talent. Because I'll tell you honestly what happened in my case. The company that I used to work for, when I quit and I left after my burnout, it took them a year later down the line. They still hadn't found somebody to replace me for the level of responsibility and for that particular job.
I get it.
So
It makes
so that means you lose a year worth of trainings.
yeah.
And you lose a year worth of investment in your employees when you lose talent at that level. So that's why I'm saying that finding solutions, so hiring external trainers or external coaches, or forming a part of your employees to be able to cover that is so important nowadays.
And talking about that, so who are your clients? I'm jumping from one to another. I just you mentioned the corporate and you mentioned the startup, right? Like, so who are your clients today? You're still with related to the corporate world? No.
Yeah, so I own two businesses today, and they're related. And interestingly, I don't drain out, I don't burn out, even though I run two businesses. That's because I'm finally in my sweet spot. Speaking of the Ikigai, this is one of the exercises that I love to run in my trainings for both founders and people in the corporate world, because I believe you don't need to be an entrepreneur to actually go through this exercise. You can be at any level in the company to go through it. I think everybody should go through such an exercise once a year, I would say, once a year. So
at the beginning or at the end of the year?
I would say it's wonderful if you do it in the beginning, obviously, for many reasons. But yeah, so speaking of my Ikigai, I found my sweet spot. So the Ikigai refers to, it's a Japanese concept, very briefly, that refers to your reason for being. So what's your sweet spot in life? What's your zone of genius? So I discovered that my zone of genius actually stands at the intersection of business, because I do have this very well-structured mind that has grown for so many years in the field of business, and I have 3 masters in business. So the intersection of business with well-being and with what I would say balancing the masculine and the feminine energies within oneself and within the business world. So my 2 businesses, one of them is focused on, just to tell you a little bit about my clients, it's focused on trainings that have to do with well-being and preventing burnout for corporates.
I love that.
Trainings also on energy management, on how to better manage your intuition, so as to listen to the signals of your body early on. And also it's important for decision making. When we understand how our intuition functions, we become better decision makers.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Within the same company, I also provide leadership coaching, so one-on-one leadership coaching, and I do trainings for founders, because guess what? The topic of burnout is as relevant not only for corporates but for founders.
I can imagine.
And living here in Portugal, I'm connected to especially the tech space and the tech founder space. And I used to work primarily with companies in the tech field, so it's something I'm really passionate about when it comes to helping tech founders overcome or prevent burnout. And then on the other hand side, my second company focuses on helping women that want to rise in their careers or want to start a business do so from a place of balance and harmony by investing in what I call the feminine energy, by investing in nourishing their feminine energy. So I'm gonna let you, if you would like to learn more about that, you can ask me if there's. I love explaining a little bit what's the difference and between the masculine and the feminine energy, and how to actually blend the two, because it's important to blend the two. I believe we live in a day and age where we need to integrate both into our work.
I love it because you also you know the answers, you also ask the questions. I can just I can take a nap and then you can, you told me
I'm very passionate.
I know I love passionate people,
topics.
and it's funny because you said I speak very slowly and I'm very quiet, and
I think it's your energy that impacts me.
And then okay, we're gonna I love it.
I think it's your energy that impacts me because you love you create this a space of joyfulness. I mean, the topic of your podcast is happiness, right?
It's true.
So you attract people that are very happy about what they speak about. So of course that allows them to go straight into the topic.
Yeah, I love when people are talking. They love what they're doing and they talk about it with passion. And talking about, I want to go back to the clients. I want to ask you, and then I'll promise I will ask you about the feminine and the differences between the feminine and the energy, masculine energy. How can somebody find you?
I think an easy way to find me is if you're a founder or company that's interested more in this topic and exploring ways to work together, you can search for me on LinkedIn. They just need to, and they can send me a message on LinkedIn. That's the easiest way to connect.
Give me the links and we're going to put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you're a female founder interested in also understanding deeper aspects of how you can nourish your feminine energy while becoming thriving and successful in your work. I have also a platform for that, so you can actually write to me either on LinkedIn or Instagram. Okay, so the moment has come. Drums, tell me about the feminine drums, You're like, what? This is great. I thought it was a serious place here to talk, and then you're coming and you're putting the drums. Yay.
Yes, please explain us about the feminine energy and how can we prevent the burnout?
Oh yeah, okay. So two questions in one. I'm gonna start with the first one. The first, just to kind of explain a little bit the differences between the feminine and the masculine energy. I would say that I learned it the hard way through my burnout, that I was overly functioning from a go, do, endless to-do list, kind of masculine energy mode of functioning. And this is not to blame the masculine energy at all. I believe it's super useful. I believe.
So not the men are guilty for everything?
No, not at all. First of all of us have, both women and men alike, have both feminine and masculine energy within us. And if you're, from a classical perspective, I love to use the yin and yang symbol. If you can remember that's from Chinese philosophical traditions. There's the yin and yang symbol, right? So in Chinese tradition and Eastern philosophies, the yin is seen as the feminine and the yang as the masculine. And I'm smiling because the yang sounds like young and vigorous and strong, but actually, in a sense, so also again in ancient traditions, the masculine energy was seen as related to the sun, so very vibrant, alive, the go-getter, and the feminine energy was seen as relating more to the moon. So the moon is a celestial body that obviously shines out at nighttime, so it's a time to rest and reflect. So as I mentioned, both women and men have masculine and feminine energy.
Yeah.
The masculine energy in a classical sense stands for action, strategy, going after your dreams, going after your goals, goal-oriented, and of course doing, action. And the feminine energy is, I would say, very intuitive, more inwards oriented, rest, reflection oriented, but also since it's so much connected to our intuition.
Yeah.
And that's why equally men and women need to develop qualities that classically speaking could be seen as feminine in leadership, right? And that's why we see the rise of feminine leadership nowadays in all fields, because it's needed. Guess what? It's needed. So we all need to connect deeper to our intuition. So the intuition also is an avenue for us to make flourish our creativity.
Okay.
Because when we tap into intuition, we also tap into creativity. So creative solutions for the problems we deal with in a business, creative product offerings, creative services, creativity in the service offering that we have.
So how do we do that? Practical. I wake up tomorrow morning. And then I want to connect to my feminine energy.
The feminine energy.
What do I do?
The feminine energy thrives when you make space for it, right?
Okay.
So first of all, we need to make space in our schedule. So I can share how I've done it and how I believe it's a beautiful, one of the many beautiful ways to tap more into nourishing our feminine energy. First of all, we need to create space for rest and reflection, like I was sharing. So. The feminine energy is a lot connected to going inwards and making space for us to be, in order for us to be able to listen to our intuition, to listen to what wants to come forth from inside of us. So meditation is a great practice. Anything that stimulates reflection and stimulates rest and well-being. So it's not always.
So if I go to have my hair done, nails done, massage, all this stuff, can I tell my husband that I will just come back and then be more creative and create space and then create energy?
Because I kid you not, sometimes you get a very good idea landing in when it's exactly in those times when you are resting and nourishing your body in one way or another. That's why most of the scientists and philosophers of the past and even the writers used to have a good walk in nature once or twice a day.
Yeah.
And so that was their moment of resting, of reflecting, of going inwards, because it provided them with the rich soil and the rich materials that they needed for their work. And
I like
so
that.
Then they would go into action mode. So when we go into action mode, so that's why I'm saying none is something to be avoided. No, we need each other. Men and women need each other, and we both have both feminine and masculine energy within us. It's just that we need to learn how to blend it better. And you see. So it actually connects the two connect very well. I believe we live in a day and age where the leadership techniques of the future, inner leadership and external leadership, will have to unite both. So when we take action from a place of having been well rested with clarity, and having connected to our intuition and what the wisdom of not only our minds, but what the wisdom of our hearts and higher self is guiding us towards, that action yields, I would say, results that are far better off and with better impact for all those involved than if we, on the contrary, take action from rush, precipitation, and from a place of stress and anxiety.
I get it. Yeah. I completely connect to that. And I told you I watched your masterclass. And I really like this thing, I remember the energy and with the action. It was like one of the first principle, right? You also mentioned the environment, and how important it is for us.
Yes.
And I remember something with the moon cycle.
Oh yeah, that's particularly for women. I mean, I don't think men can relate to this topic, but it's very interesting. Actually, I will provide something very that men can relate to in a moment after this. So the moon cycle refers to our menstrual cycle as women, right? So what I found, and this is why I actually have my second business is more focused on helping female leaders, because it's so important for us to incorporate these ancient principles into our current day work and life to bring balance and harmony and yield better results.
Yeah.
So one of the feminine principles to incorporate in your work, if you're a woman, and if you can do this, because I know it's not always possible with the crazy schedules people run around with, is to adapt your workflow and your work life to your menstrual cycle. What do I mean by that? Our bodies go through on average a 28-day cycle. And when we are at what's called the moon time, classically speaking, that's when we are most inwards and we need to rest. So the body is craving rest then. Energetically, we are at our lowest point of the month. And I have heard, somebody was telling me recently that in France, a lot of companies are starting to... And I hope it's going to start a worldwide phenomenon. And it shouldn't be a phenomenon. It should be a norm, if you ask me, for the future. A lot of companies are starting to take that into account. And they are offering women, I think they have around 2 days every month that they can take for... especially the days of their moon time that are most intense energetically and physically for them. So what research has discovered is that when we actually take some nourishing space for ourselves during the first or second, I usually do the first 2 days of my moon time, only doing activities that are nourishing and allowing me to rest and replenish my energy. So when we take that time for ourselves, then we have more energy for women, we have more energy throughout the rest of the month. Whereas when we neglect the body's natural signals to rest and take a pause during that part of the month, then we experience usually painful periods and painful times. Or we experienced lower, because it happened to me that I experienced when I don't allow for that rest, I experience months with lower energy and lower creativity.
I get it.
So the body is telling us, please pay attention to me, because I am the one that provides you with the health, the energy, and the well-being that you need in order to achieve all those goals. So that's why I'm such a big preacher of honoring the feminine energy in us, both as women and as men. So for men particularly, this means making space and time for you to connect to your emotions, connect to your intuition, connect to what your body emotionally and physically is telling you need time for.
And I will just go back to the question. I don't know if it's redundant or not. How can we use the feminine energy or the energy in general to avoid burnout? I'm getting back to the
So the question is, how can we use the balance? So how can we balance the feminine energy so that we can avoid burnout?
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So a number of ways. First, as I mentioned earlier, make time for rest and reflection intentionally. So with the crazy schedules we have nowadays, all of us, whether we are entrepreneurs or working in the corporate environment, it's really almost impossible to just find time for rest and reflection simply by clicking our fingers.
Like schedule,
but make it intentional.
Block it in the
schedule. So in my case, and for most people that I work with, it's the first thing we do in the beginning of the day. So the first part of the day is for yourself, even if it's just half an hour. And even somebody who has a family, who's
you should see my mornings
in a relationship,
running up and down and up and down, and okay, continue.
Even somebody who has a family, kids, relationship. I know that takes a little bit more and like maybe
more planning,
but waking up maybe half an hour earlier,
I know what
just to do that to create that intentional space and time for yourself. So and actually research shows that the champion's habit, so to speak, the number one thing that separates high achievers from everybody else is the fact that they all have a morning routine. And I don't like to call it routine because it's not routine for me. It's very varied, diversified for me. So it's a morning ritual.
Okay, so what are your morning rituals? Share with us.
So for everybody it's different. It depends on what you enjoy. That half an hour can be half an hour of jogging, but you get outside and you get some fresh air and nature, and that allows you to come down from the the sleepiness and the grogginess of the beginning of the day, that allows you to come down into your body and create mental space for the rest of the day. And a lot of people actually get good ideas while they jog.
Okay, now I'm not jogging in the 6 a.m. now. Give me another options.
My way to start the day is with meditation. I love meditation, and you can even do it in bed. I like to do it in bed. So, this is where I say it's very diverse, because I play with different meditations every time, depending on what I feel I need that morning. But meditation is such a beautiful topic, and it's no longer, I would say, a taboo subject. Everybody does it nowadays. And it's great for both your mental well-being and emotional well-being. And recent studies and researchers show that meditation is great for the physical body too, because it calms down our nervous system, which in turn sends positive signals to the body that is so that the body can go into homeostasis and perform its natural functions easily, rather than be in stress, which creates this ease.
And how would you choose like the meditation every morning? You said that it depends of...
So there are so many. I mean, I record meditations myself, and I send them to my clients, but you can also, if you're new at this, I definitely recommend guided meditations that you can easily find, look at the teachers and coaches that inspire you, or even start with YouTube. It's as simple as that. There's so many meditations on YouTube that you can find, and look for the teachers, of course, that inspire you. It's so important.
I like that.
So some morning rituals are more active, let's say, and usually, and I'm not saying all men do this, but they prefer a more physical routine, like running.
Like running or something.
But even for them, it's so important to make space for meditation. And other routines or morning rituals are more, let's say, inwards. I love to nourish my body with a good meditation first thing in the morning. And some people prefer, another ritual I can give you is, some people prefer journaling. A good friend of mine, she does reading for half an hour. She just
also like okay.
Reading something that is like books that are inspiring to her just in the first 30 minutes of the day.
I will definitely. I like the reading, the meditation, the journaling. The jogging, I think, is like for advanced
athletes.
Exactly, for the athletes. Let's talk goal setting. And, we're at the beginning of the year now, and I would love to see how, what would you tell to a person like me that is very overwhelmed, that he has like crazy schedule and is trying to balance, the motherhood, and then the career, the work, and then the relationships. And of course, I'm also passionate about my self-growth and my well-being. So what would you do? How
in terms of goal setting?
Like what advice would you give?
Okay, so let's look at goals, right? That's a beautiful question, and I love it because it's so important now. And I believe as many people as possible listen to this, to your podcast, and also to this episode. Because we have been taught to set goals in a way that is very mental. And it's very focused on what we are told or what we think we should do throughout the year. My approach to setting goals, and what I recommend, is to set heart goals. What I mean by that, first of all, heart goals start from the premise that you create space and time for yourself to actually go inwards early on in the beginning of the year and define what are your true priorities based on what your heart is calling you.
And how do you find that? What do you do?
So I have guided meditations, visualizations for that allow people to go into a space where they connect to their heart and they start listening to what their heart, their higher self, their intuition is telling them is most important for them that year. Now, some people, like some of the people I've met, they just know straight on, like they don't need necessarily these meditations or these visualizations in order to make that space and go inward and actually be able to connect to those answers. Some people just know right away, but others actually need for somebody to hold space for them, for somebody to create that space for them so that they can actually listen to the voice of their heart, their higher self, their intuition. So what simply happens is that by listening to your heart rather than what your mind tells you, our mind actually is designed to make us survive and to keep us safe, to protect us, and to keep us in the usual, in what we know. So that means that also it has a tendency to overload our to-do list, and it has a tendency to focus on what we know we should do, right? Like, let's say our mind will give us the financial goal for the year, and that's great. But my approach is start first with your heart goals and then go into your more mind-oriented goals if you want to. So your heart goals simply sound, I want to have more peace and harmony in my life next year. Okay, so we start from your values. How do we go about finding that peace and harmony? Maybe I need to make some lifestyle changes when it comes to my health routine. Or maybe I need to make some changes, and in order for me to have more harmony, I need to cultivate my passions more, like going for that dance class that I wanted to go for a long while. Or peace and harmony for some people may mean making space for their social circle because they haven't seen their friends in a long while because of work.
So I think also like it's important to clarify like what does it mean to be at peace, or what does it mean to be like because you know what it mean, what's peace for me is not the same thing for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we start from the values. So what is most important for you, and then through these meditations and exercises and visualizations, and also we work with the Ikigai framework that I told you about earlier. We actually determine what for them in particular, what that value actually embodies, what it represents. So that's how you get to determine and express your goals in a way that is supportive of what is most nourishing for you at this particular point in time. And peace and harmony can be reflected at work as well. So that may mean, okay, if you're a leader, if you're a CEO, if you're a manager, that may mean blocking out time in your calendar where you have a closed door policy. And that means you're just at your desk and you do your focused work.
I like that. Talking about, you want to go on? Or you?
And yeah, so just to finish off, I would say the shift that needs to happen is, in order for us to go back into balance, is first of all to recognize that less is more when it comes to goals. Less is more, meaning that we start with some simple principles that we want to follow for the simple values that we want to follow for that year that nourish us. It's okay. It's not selfish to put ourselves first. Nourish us, because when we are nourished, we can give more to the others. So less is actually leading to more. So start from simple values and principles that are heart-based. And then from there, we build on and go into more detailed goals that can support your work, can support your leadership roles, can support your personal life and family life as well as your social life.
Like to divide in everything.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention, I've listened recently to a brilliant podcast, marketing, Amy Porterfield and Danielle from Boss Babes.
I know Amy Porterfield.
So I think it came out last week. I was just listening to it. I have no words to describe. I was listening to it and then I went back to it just to take notes. So Danielle, I don't remember her family name, but Danielle was giving a lot of good ideas. She's a new mom. She has like a baby. I think it's called Scale Like a Mother or something like that. The podcast, the episode itself.
Beautiful.
And she was giving, a lot of like, she loves systems. And she was talking, like blocking times and doing all this. What can you do with your calendar? So the first thing she was dividing, A task, B task, and C tasks. And anyway, you have to listen to it. But like she's talking the A task are the one that you want to do it yourself, like important things that she wants to do, And she was dividing it between motherhood and career, like her business. the B tasks are the one that, she would give the strategy, but she would still she would teach the other people to delegate. And the C tasks are the one that, you have to really delegate, and they cost you more. Not they cost you more, they cost you less than just to give it, like the 10 euros task, it's better to hire someone and to delegate it to that person. So this was the first brilliant part that I really liked.
Yeah.
And then another thing that about blocking her schedule, like her whole week. So then she had, again, she had like the night out, the day with
her date with her partner.
Also the date with the partner, like on Saturdays. Then she would like do content creation. Then she would have Monday for the team day, and then I don't remember all the details, but it was just wonderful to see, and to listen to it. It was so inspiring, and so I think that we should all do, these systems. And then she was saying,
it's great for decision making.
Exactly. So she was saying, how do you do this stuff? Where do you create systems? In the moment when you actually you're checking and you're seeing repetitive tasks that happen all the time. So anyway, every week we need to do the meal planning.
That leak your energy, right?
Exactly.
Tasks that leak your energy definitely need to be reconsidered whether you want to do them really or delegate them.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I think it's the last episode, and I definitely recommend it. And for me, it was
great.
It was just making clarity and making a lot of organizing kind of.
Yeah, it's like making the cleanup in your schedule.
And something,
the detox of the schedule.
Exactly. Something so small but still so precious and so
valuable.
Exactly. Yeah.
Love
okay,
it.
let me think. We're running out of time here, and I wanted to ask you so many questions. But the question of the day, of course, what is happiness for you today?
Oh, bless you. I love this question. So happiness is simply, to me, it's feeling at home within myself, feeling at home where I am, and feeling at home when it comes to what I'm doing. So really feeling that I'm following my life's passions and my life's mission.
I love that.
And for me, that is true happiness.
Aww. I think it's one of the most original answers to this question,
Yeah, because I don't believe in happiness being like, I would say, that peak states of that we're here to live in forever. But to me, happiness is the journey. Happiness is truly the journey, much like the sages of all times have told us. And I'm getting to discover that as well myself. That before, my mindset was very much in a kind of formed since school. So, but our schooling is actually designed in this way, and the whole education is designed for us to search competition and for us to search for that peak, that just being the high achiever.
Yeah.
But actually, happiness is when you discover what truly fulfills you. And it's not, I truly believe we're not here to be in competition with each other, but we're here to discover what truly fulfills each of us, to follow that, to ignite that passion. And when we follow it and pursue this journey to the depths of it, we end up giving to others and creating happiness around us as well. So it's truly about feeling at home with where I am and feeling at home with what I'm doing. And if I no longer feel at home, I go back to the exercises that help me, clarify. And I suggest it to my clients to help go regularly over, because maybe as you evolve, we're not meant as human beings to be stagnant. As we evolve, let's say in 5 or 10 years from now, maybe your values and priorities have changed.
Of course, yeah.
And that impacts also your passions and what's most important for you. So it's good to re-evaluate what truly fulfills you, what makes you feel like you're living authentically, a life that is authentically aligned with what makes you feel good, what makes you feel excited, what makes you feel good about giving back to the world.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, one message, if like from all this episode, like you have one message that you want the listeners to stay with, what would it be?
I would say make intentional space for you to connect on a regular basis to your intuition, to your heart wisdom, and to what truly makes you feel alive. because that is what's going to provide the nourishment for you to move forward, and that spark of happiness to move forward in an aligned way, aligned with what is truly for your highest and greatest good.
Thank you so much, Alina. The
You're very
time,
welcome.
just like jumped just like that.
I know, it felt like 5 minutes. Like, goodness
That's
gracious.
a good sign. That's a good sign. So thank you so much. And I'm waiting for you to share more. And I wish you a happy new year.
Thank you. And I wish you also a super beautiful new year. Lots of exciting guests on your podcast.
Thank you.
And thank you for bringing these conversations out into the world right now when they are most important.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Relocate to happiness.